Hello. Who remembers that tune? I suppose a long time ago, when we were children, we were brought up where um, we had a lot of music in the background, or your mum or your dad used to give you a musical instrument or a wind-up toy, and it played music. That tune was from um, a music toy that where people used to wind up. The next minute, a nursery rhyme would come up. You're wondering what I'm going to talk about, aren't you? When we're younger, when we're young, we expect a lot of love, don't we? When we're younger, from our parents and from our brothers and sisters, and our family. And sometimes we find it very difficult to love our brothers and sisters because we fight when we're younger. Now, you can't tell me you never had an argument with your brother and sister when you were younger. You know, they probably took something. They probably took your makeup, or they probably nicked a pair of socks, or they probably, um, kind of like nicked your favorite comic or toy. Do you know? Do you know what happens is that your mum always comes to you, or your dad comes to you, and you go, "You must get on with your sister, or your brother, or your sister. You've got to love one another." And so that's my title for tonight: is loving one another. It's difficult, isn't it, when you got to love one another, even if you're in a family where things are not going right, or things are there's a lot of arguments and everybody don't get on. Can you remember the time when you've fallen out with your brother and sister over something which is petty? I remember when I was around about 12, I when I was 13, I I stolen a pair of socks out of my brother's drawer, pair of football socks. And because of that week, um, my brother decided not to have me to his wedding. All the family went to the wedding, but I was left behind. I'll say that again. Everybody went to the wedding, but I was left behind. And I felt that this was petty. It was only a pair of socks. But he just took it the way he takes things. And he actually he didn't show love, he just showed kind of disrespect. I suppose he was punishing me for something that I did, which really it was right. But I thought when I was younger, I thought, nah, you know, it can't stop me from going to a wedding, a big wedding, and all the family are dressed up and they've been bought suits and stuff, and it really hurt me when I saw that, and I had to stay home and watch the telly and whatever. 6 hours later, down the line, I remember my mum came back and she said, "Come on, get in the car. I'm taking you to the wedding reception." And there and then, I lost respect. I lost respect for my brother and for some of my family. It was very difficult because I thought that because of these pair of socks that I took, which I can laugh about now, that it was just a joke. And my brother just laughed it off and he'd have a go at me and say, why did you take these pair of socks? It was because at that particular time I was playing football and the colour socks at that particular time was yellow. And I'm using a yellow pair of socks because the other yellow pair of socks was in the wash. And so I said to my mum, no, I don't want to go to the wedding. So all evening, again, I stayed home by myself. Now, you're asking me now, why didn't you go? I didn't go because I was really, really upset that my family, in the beginning, didn't stick up for me in the beginning and say to my brother, well, it's just petty, why don't we all go, you know? It was so petty, really, really petty. And I expected they to stick up for me, but they never did. And for years it went on, and me and my brother never spoken. And one particular time when I was married once, um, when I was married, I met up with my brother, and and he was all, yeah, all right, Steve, how are you? You all right? How you been going? Or what? It was all, it was all talk, and everything seemed to be okay. And there was no love. There was no love at all. It was just, it was just kind of like, well, we got to do this, so let's get on with it, basically. You know what I mean? And in families, it happens, doesn't it? We fall out, we don't speak. It could be years that we don't speak. Time passes, we get older. And we find it very difficult to forgive people, as well. But you know what? But now I come to a conclusion is this, that if I begin to kind of like forgive people and love them, they don't expect that, do they? Do you get me? It's like me not speaking to my wife for around about, I don't know, I can't, you know, talking to Michelle. I can't think about not talking to Michelle for a day or so because it won't. I can't. You know. I remember with Michelle was one day she didn't talk to me for the complete day until the evening because I did something wrong, and I didn't have the gumption to say, "All right, sorry, Shell. I'm sorry about this." And we do, don't we? We pride ourselves in thinking that you know why should we do this and why should we do that? But what you've got to realise is if you love somebody, really love somebody, you've got to learn how to forgive and forget. And so one day I contacted my brother and I said to my brother, well, he contacted me because he wanted me to play football in the dockyard in Plymouth. And he said, can you play football for me? We're short on a player. And I said, hang on for a minute. You only contact me about, I said to him in a nasty voice, I said, you only contacted me because you need somebody to play football. But I stopped there and then and I said, yeah, okay. I'll be there in 15 minutes or something. I've got it won't take me long. And he was shocked because I did not kind of like, after all that he's done about the wedding and everything, that I did not have any hatred towards him. And he was shocked. And I said to him, when I turned up into Devonport, I said to him, you know, that I'm here. And he said to me, oh, thanks for coming. And he was completely shocked that I turned up, right, and I just played football. Then I left. He said to me, do you want a lift? And I said, no, thank you. I'm going to see my girlfriend afterwards and all that lot. And he was completely shocked. And I think if we begin to love one another and show people a different side of us, I think we'll shock everybody. I think people will be surprised. If we only change our habits, like saying like, instead of going, it's like me and Michelle say, right? If I had an argument with Michelle, we don't have arguments. We have disagreements, but we don't, we don't kind of like play on it for ages. Sometimes I'm like a fool and kind of like, I wind her up to a point where she's had enough and she won't talk to me and I've got to kind of like apologize to her. Doesn't mean she don't love me. It means that I've done something wrong, which I need to apologize. You get what I'm trying to say? So we need to change our habit of about kind of doing things that will be positive instead of negative all the time about our own lives. But I know that loving one another is very difficult. Definitely difficult. Very difficult indeed. And I think the trouble is that soon you show people kindness, show people love, then no one can break. It's like a chain, no one can break it. If you change yourself from being a negative person to a positive person and change one piece of habit or whatever, or your attitude about one thing, you surprise that person. And so before I finish, it's like sometimes we got to kind of say to ourselves, yes, okay, let's love one another. And whatever, anything happens in our relationships or in our life, we've got to turn around and say, whatever happens, even if it's their fault, even they're saying to you, oh, you're whatever, you're this and whatever, you turn around to them and say, okay, fine. Instead of them shouting at you, you shouting at them, or you doing anything negative towards them, if they come up to you, approach you, or whatever, you just turn it into like a positive. You say, "Oh yeah, do I? Do I really?" You know. Someone said to me the other day on Facebook. They said I had a negative comment on Facebook, and they said, "Oh, you look like an old man." And I says, "Well, I am 50 and I am getting on a bit." And which really I could have said something different, but I didn't. And so that's where loving one another comes in. If we start to show that we love each other, then I think this world is going to be a better place. Do you?